Hi there! Welcome to the second video lesson in this unit, supporting low English proficiency students in mixed level classes. In this lesson, I'm going to talk about the strategy, Build Vocabulary. As you know, I'm David Patent. Another David, British linguist David A. Wilkins, once said, "Without grammar, very little can be conveyed. Without vocabulary, nothing can be conveyed." And there's a lot of research out there that supports this claim. Let's look at a simple example to understand the importance of vocabulary. Consider this sentence. A woman who was donning a charming hat materialized in the store at 12 p.m. This is a grammatically correct and meaningful sentence with a few fairly advanced vocabulary items: donning, charming, and materialized. Let's read the sentence with only the content words, that is, nouns, verbs, adjectives, or adverbs in their base form. Woman donned charming hat materialized store 12 p.m. Notice that although the sentence is grammatically incorrect, the meaning is still mostly clear, if you know the words, that is. Now let's read the sentence with the advanced vocabulary removed. A woman who was a hat in the store at 12 p.m. Pretty confusing, right? The woman was a hat in a store? What? This example shows that LEPs who are expected to use English at a higher level than their proficiency allows are likely to encounter chunks of language that they can't decode. This is because there are too many gaps in their knowledge of English vocabulary. Helping LEPs to build their knowledge of vocabulary is crucial to their success in mixed-level classes. I'm going to suggest two ways to help LEPs improve their knowledge of English vocabulary. Vocabulary logs provide a way for students to organize their knowledge of a vocabulary item. A vocabulary log is typically in the form of a table with cells for target vocabulary items and translations of the item into the student's first language. However, a vocabulary log can contain a lot of different information about a word. Here are 3 entries in a vocabulary log for learning Hungarian that I might have used when I first started working in Hungary as a teacher and began to learn the language. This log includes the vocabulary item and a translation into my first language, English. I also included an image associated with the word because an image can help many learners to retain vocabulary items more effectively. My friend and colleague, Amy Walker, a longtime English teacher, likes to have her students write something down about the context in which they first learned the word. Although it might be difficult to remember the first time they encountered a vocabulary item, creating an association between the item and their first or early encounter with it creates a historical or emotional connection that can help students to remember the meaning. Other more typical elements of vocabulary that might be included are the part of the speech of the item, noun, verb, adjective, or adverb, a definition of the item, or a sentence using the item. Vocabulary logs can help all your students build their knowledge of vocabulary, but they are especially important for LEPs, who tend to lack the vocabulary to succeed in classes aimed at higher proficiency students. Ultimately, students need to use vocabulary, or they'll soon forget it. But it can be difficult for a teacher to find the time to provide enough opportunities for students to see and use target vocabulary. There is evidence that most students need to see or hear a vocabulary item a minimum of 10 different times before it starts to enter their long-term memory. 2 ways to expose students to vocabulary without using up extra time during class are to post target vocabulary in the classroom on posters and to give students the chance to practice using vocabulary in games. Neither method requires great effort on the part of teachers, but they can make a big difference to students, especially LEPs. Let's look at an example of a way to use games to build vocabulary. It is easy to have students practice English vocabulary on their own using crosswords. Digital crosswords can be created on the web or using apps. Students can complete crosswords repeatedly to deepen their knowledge of a word and its spelling. You can also have students submit their work to you by email. This crossword was created in web-based book widget software, which allows for both downloading and emailing it to the teacher. Students can easily complete the activity on a mobile device as many times as they want. I've mentioned a few ways that you can help your students to build vocabulary. I'm sure you can think of other methods, perhaps ones you yourself have used. Teachers have different ways of helping students build vocabulary, but it is important to make sure that you have effective methods to help your students, especially ones at a low level of proficiency, to learn and remember words in English. Now it's time to show what you've remembered about the strategy by completing the quiz for video lesson 2. Don't worry, you'll be able to review information from the video while you're taking the quiz. When you're done with the quiz, go on to video lesson 3.